Here we go. 3, 2, and 1. Oh. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Morning Coffee with Brett, or whatever we end up calling this show. I am excited. It is Wednesday, the 10th of October. I think it's the 10th of October. I'm getting messages and stuff all over the place. I'm excited. Today's video is going to be centered around the topic of, I had this video series that I used to do called Wake Up Wednesdays, which happened on Wednesdays. And it just, being a marketer, you get really excited about alliteration and stupid things like that. And so, oh, I should actually make the coffee while I'm talking about this. So Wake Up Wednesday was like the moniker for the show. And the idea was to talk about shocking things or whatever. But I think actually today, as a way of sort of resurrecting that, I just want to talk about, I want to just tell stories. So I'm going to tell you a story of what happened to me. Oop, I probably don't want this cable in the sink. What happened to me over the last couple of days, and just talk about how it's affected me, and really how it relates to some other things that have happened to me as well. So so some of you may know this, but I've been in the marketing, automation, technology, consulting space forever. And by forever, I mean for like almost 20 years. And one of the things that has always been a common thread through all my interactions with people is reminding people that speaking to an expert is more valuable than the time that you'll spend learning some of the stuff on your own. And I have a long, I kind of go back and forth personally between whether I think it's wiser for business owners to learn the systems, learn how the technology works. Well, really, I do believe that business owners should learn how the technology works, but I think to an extent. I don't think that business owners have a need or really a place becoming experts, because they have other stuff that they need to be doing, like running their businesses. And as I start to try and run a business myself, that's becoming a little bit more apparent. That the stuff that I'm good at there are things that I'm good at, and there are things that I'm not good at. Like, for example, navigating accounting structures or legal setups or anything having to do with anything other than what I'm good at. And so I had a conversation yesterday. I got on a call with a guy because I've been. This is going to seem kind of surprising. Maybe it won't seem surprising to you. I don't know. But I just barely got into accounting. And when I say got into accounting, I mean I barely started doing accounting for myself, which might be, I probably should be more embarrassed about that than I am. But I look back and I think more so that I probably represent a larger percentage of the American population, and I know for a fact that I represent almost 100% of the of what's going to be the population over the next 3 to 5 years, because as freelancers, as freelancing and solo work and self-employment are going to be on the rise, which they will be over the next couple of years, accounting is not something that everybody's good at, and I don't think I'm alone in the fact that it's intimidating and it's scary, and for a couple of years you can get away with just sort of ignoring it and not really thinking about it, not really trying to do much with it. But I'll promise you, as it's happened to me, it will come back to bite you in the butt. By the way, like I mentioned yesterday, this morning, this is not the Nescafe Taster's Choice, although I do actually like this coffee. It's not bad. This is that chocolate raspberry flavored coffee from the place in Big Bear, which I think I said I was going to look it up yesterday and I never did. But So anyway, I'm getting into accounting, and it's fascinating to me. I love learning new things, and as I have been trying to keep track of books and do some record keeping and splitting some bank accounts and stuff like that, I'm realizing more and more how much appreciation I should have had for all the accountants out there. So if you're an accountant, I apologize for the last 32 years of my life for not really taking you that seriously. Because when I tried to do it, I realized this is like, for me, I'm one person running a one-off business. I'm a solopreneur, so to speak, one-member LLC, and it's going to take like 3 people to do this. Like, there's no way that I have enough time to go through all this stuff. And yet it's super interesting, figuring out how you have a chart of accounts and how money moves through the accounts and it's always accounted for. All these things that, like, if I'd taken like accounting 101 in college, then I might have learned, but I didn't. And so anyway, I had a call because after I realized that I was out of my depth and I probably shouldn't be trying to handle it all myself. I actually had set up several calls, a couple of them with companies that provide just sort of done for you bookkeeping services, but not like tax prep services and things like that. And got on this call with this guy because he came highly recommended, and they're a service that does bookkeeping and tax prep, tax filing and stuff. And as the conversation went on, all he had to go off of was, I gave him my website and I told him that I had an issue with the status, like the certificate of good standing. Not a big issue, but just an issue. And he, from that, extrapolated so many things that that gave me better direction on what I probably should be focusing on in my business than it's crazy. I mean, he saved me. The first thing he did was he saved me almost $2,500 over the next 2 months, because there was a bunch of stuff that I was thinking that I needed to go do. And he was like, no, you shouldn't do that because it's not going to help you at all. He also he uncovered some truths about California state taxes that I had just been operating under some false assumptions about the way that taxes work for corporations here and for LLCs, which I found, looking back, I find it ironic. Like I mentioned before, I've been in the marketing technology space for a long time. And I can't tell you how many times I've gone to somebody who had some false idea that someone else has been preaching to them and said, no, that's not how it is. Like, you're operating under a false assumption. And so it was just interesting to get on the phone with him and realize that, that to me was the perfect microcosm of understanding your strengths and understanding your weaknesses and just tripling down on what you're good at and not even worrying about what you're not good at. Because what I did, the problem though, and this is the thing, I think the downside is, I think the first time I heard Gary say that 4 or 5 years ago, the first time I got caught wind of that idea of focus on your strengths, I was in a place where what that meant to me was ignore everything except what you're good at. Meaning, don't even deal with it at all. And I just realized I made a mistake. By the way, any of you coffee people out there, what I'm about to do is probably the greatest of faux pas, but we're going to try it and see if it works. This will be a little experiment. I realized that I have water in here for a double shot for basically 2 cups, but I only put enough coffee in for 1. So I'm sure that's terrible form, but anyway, so talking to him just gave me sort of a renewed perspective on what I'm doing. And I think one of the biggest things, and this is something that I'm a little bit nervous, I'm not really nervous to share, I just don't really know, like I feel compelled to move in one direction today. Actually, I felt compelled to do this last night, but I thought I should let cooler heads prevail and wait and just kind of feel it out. Something clicked for me, which was so yesterday all this stuff happened, and I had thought that it would be wise for me to get myself on a payroll set up sooner. And what he said to me last night was, no, it actually doesn't make any difference. You're just gonna, because there's only 2 months left in the 3 months left in the year. It's actually better for you to just you'll save money, and it's better for you to just pay taxes for 2018 as self-employed, not under the business, and then we'll set up an actual LLC in California starting January 1st. So I came home, and as I had that new framework, and I'm going to come back to this in a second because I think this is very important. As I had that new framework, that new understanding, the new information that I didn't have before, I sat down and I had a whole new outlook on what the business looks like in the future. This is actually going to be kind of interesting because if you follow the podcast, The last episode of the podcast, which comes out in December, it talks about what I see my vision being for the business. And I don't think that what I'm thinking about now really changes that necessarily long term, but it does put it into perspective, because I sat down and he said, oh no, just consider this year as you're just self-employed. So now I'm thinking, okay, I have my whole accounting system set up to account for transactions as though I'm a corporation, right? And or so I'm an LLC. I keep saying corporation. I just mean as a business, like with reimbursements going back and forth and transactions, this and that. And I just thought, sort of on a whim, I was like, self-employed. I'm paying taxes though I'm self-employed. There's a product out there that's designed for people that are self-employed to keep track of their expenses. And I don't understand why I had never done this before, but I went and looked up QuickBooks self-employed, set up a little free trial. Well, I didn't actually set up a free trial. I set up the tax, paid like $12 for it. But here's the kind of the thing that here's the kind of the point that I'm making here. I paid $12 for this. I sat down there, and within 10 minutes of fiddling around with this technology, first of all, I realized that QuickBooks Self-Employed is what I should have been using all year, because the problems that I had with separating business and personal finances, income and expenses and all that kind of stuff, there's a product for that. It's called QuickBooks Self-Employed. It'll do it. So all this time that I had spent trying to think my way through it and just like mentally manhandle the process, if I had just bit the bullet, like I did research 5 months ago, and I said, oh, I'm going to go with Wave. I have nothing against Wave. I love their interface. I love their technology. And I think actually when I do go full scale and start bringing on employees, I think we might go back to that, maybe. And their support was really great, and the app is cool, and the systems are cool. Plus it's free, which is really nice. But when I made that determination, I made the determination simply because I would save myself $12 a month, as opposed to going freelance or with the self-employed route. And the interesting thing is, if you were to describe, if you didn't know anything about me and you didn't know how my business was set up and how things were running that way, and you just met me and I described to you my services, literally everyone would describe me as self-employed, not as the CEO of an agency. Because the truth is, I don't have any employees. Everything that I do myself. And I do have sort of visions to expand. I think that's probably what happened, is that the month that shot me in the foot, again, check out the podcast if you're curious about that. But the month that shot me in the foot was because I tried to transition myself too quickly to too large of an entity, if that makes sense. There is a difference between separating business accounts, having a business account and having a personal account, like for transactions, and separating business transactions onto just the business account and personal transactions in the personal account. That's one thing. But that does not require that you go 10 extra steps and set up an LLC and then have to run payroll tax and pay payroll tax and do an S Corp and all this other stuff. Like, it's really just, you have one account that's for your business stuff, and you have one account that's for your personal stuff, and then you grow as you grow. And I actually, this is what's ironic about the whole thing, is I have consulted and told people that sorry, I just had to stuff a sneeze. I have told people that, like, grow as you grow. And once you get to the point where, like, what I should have done is, instead of okay, so I know I'm kind of rambling here, but what I'm really strongly considering right now, and what I think I'm going to work my way towards, is backing out my 1T Unlimited business as being the forefront of what I'm doing, letting that be a future plan. 1T Unlimited is going to be the visualization, the realization of my dream for ratings and ratings and certification agency for consultants, for freelancers. Okay, but I'm not there yet, right? I'm not to the point where I can't bring anybody on. I do have a couple of people that I'm mentoring right now, but really it's just me doing a bunch of stuff for a bunch of people. And until I can, like, I think what I want to do, what I'm thinking about doing is making everything a personal brand. So all the stuff that I'm doing right now, switching it over from 1T Unlimited to just Brett, and going from there. Now, as a side note, and I want to get back to what I was talking about before, but as a side note, I am a little bit concerned to lose the 1T branding, because I kind of like that story. It humanizes me. Not that I'm not human, but like I like the 1T story, like the fact that there's 1T in my name. I also like that there's a whole future branding around, if you've heard of the concept of T-shaped entrepreneurship, where you have broad competency and deep expertise in one or two fields. So it looks like a T. So you're like, I can do all this stuff and I can do this stuff really, really well. So it fits in with the 1T thing. So I've thought about making it personal, but also tying it into like making the brand not 1T Unlimited or Brett Martineau, but Brett with 1T. Anyway, I don't really know, and it's probably gonna take me a while. But I think what I'm gonna do in the short term is create some branding and professionalize a little bit my personal branding. I have a website, and I set up a Facebook page, and I have this channel, and I can probably just up level everything. I think I've used my personal stuff as like a place to dump thoughts that I know no one's gonna watch. But I think if I take it more seriously, I mean, I have 100-something subscribers here on YouTube, and I have almost 200,000 views on a video that I, by the way, if you've seen that video, if you haven't seen that video, there's a video on my channel of us when we went to South Africa petting some lion cubs. And you would be surprised, I don't have a whole lot of traffic to my channel, a whole lot of anything, but that thing gets 100+ views a day, and it's got, I don't know, 60, 70 comments, which is not, again, in the grand scheme of things, is not that big. It's not that much. But for me, for someone like me, it's pretty insane. So anyway, back to the story. Two points that I want to make, two kind of like wrap-ups, the lessons that I learned from the story. First, defer to the expert, always. Always defer to, and I have this problem with myself. I have a tendency to think that I'm smarter or better or more capable than I am. Not that than I am, but more capable than I should think that I am, if that makes sense. Because there's a difference between knowing what you're doing and being able to like hack it and getting it right. Because let me tell you, I can tell you from personal experience that if you don't get the tax set up right, you're going to end up paying through the teeth for a long time. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing is that whole side tangent story. Sometimes when you don't have all the information, you make assumptions that are based on faulty data, right? Because what you have doesn't give you the full picture. Like I had this picture of the way that my business was going to run, but I didn't have this picture of how QuickBooks, this is so simple. Some simple thing like deciding to go with Wave instead of QuickBooks Self-Employed set me on this path that I think has shot me in the foot a little bit. Because I think had I been dealing with those transactions and dealing with the accounting, 6 months ago, like I'm behind on my quarterly tax payments because for all intents and purposes and for all that the IRS cares, I am self-employed. Like it doesn't matter if I have a business and I have an EIN number through the IRS. I'm not in good standing with the state of Nevada, which is where the business is incorporated. I don't have a business or a DBA even set up in California. So like these are issues, these are problems that I've just sort of ignored because I made some decision based on a small amount of data instead of just bucking up, going to the professional, finding out the real information, and then going from there. Now, it might be that what you have to do is go through the process of making the wrong decision before you really understand why you need to make the right decision. Because I also believe that it's important for business owners and for people to, before running to just spend a bunch of money on some service, you need to know when you have that conversation that you've tried a bunch of things. So like I think it probably is also true that I was able to have that intelligent of a conversation with the guy. And also I was able to take the outcomes of that call and make the determinations and the decisions that I have because I spent the last 3 months doing accounting on my own as an LLC and realized some of the pitfalls. Like I feel like more than anything, it goes back again, everything goes back to a Gary Vee comment, patience, right? Instead of trying to just do it all now, you got to do something now, and you got to feel it out, and then 6 months from now, you can make a decision because you have some data to actually push you forward. So anyway, kind of exciting. I think everything is exciting. I was really tired when I woke up this morning, and by the way, it has gotten cold here in San Diego, which I'm not upset about. Actually, I'm kind of excited about it, but it is a thing. So hope you enjoyed that. We will see you tomorrow bright and early, 7:30 a.m. Pacific, as per the usual. Don't know what it's going to be about, but it's going to be fun. And I think I will be out of that coffee, so I might even be on to a new blend, which is exciting. So we will see you all on the morrow. Peace.